Hello and welcome. My name is Ginie. In today's episode, we'll be exploring weight gain symptoms to gain more clarity and awareness of where the emotional root is coming from and what inspired action the person can take to heal the root.
Okay, so I'm just gonna hand things off to you, like whatever you want to share, whatever you feel like starting, and then we can go from there.
What am I telling you? Like my health symptoms?
Whatever you want to address, it could be the health stuff, it could be a trigger.
Interesting. Okay. Um, okay. I will one thing that's interesting. I feel like physically this is explainable, but I'm sure there's an emotional reason too. But I had my thyroid tested recently, and my thyroid hormones are producing actually really well, but it's the chemical in my brain that tells my thyroid to receive those hormones is not functioning as well, which means it's sending a signal to create more of something. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's like within this thyroid panel. So the levels that they would normally test when you get a thyroid panel run regularly, that level is still within modern doctor normal range, but working with this naturopath or holistic MD is really what she is. She was like, yeah, they would put you on medication once it kept climbing, but they're just watching it climb all this time before they did anything. And she's like, I want to know why. So when we ran more further panels, she's like, what's interesting is all of these are totally well within normal range. It's basically like your brain's not receiving the signal that these thyroid hormones are producing well. And so, anyways, I physically did a shit ton of crash dieting for like over a decade. Like, just absolutely did not trust my body, did not listen to my body, did whatever some commercial or some other person said was best. Um, and I feel like I'm now living the consequences of that. Like, and I got skinny a couple of times and like kept it off for a few years here, but just in order to maintain, I treated my body like shit. And then, I gained a little bit of weight and then I would do it again. I would do some like multiple crazy things, like taking hormones to like just, and then eating 500 calories a day and then feeling guilty I was like starving. So then I would just like binge eat like in my car at night by myself. So anyways, the way that I treated my body was horrible. So I feel like whenever whenever I have a health issue, I'm always like, what's the emotional reason behind it? What could I heal emotionally to like make my body feel better? And my sister's always like, good Lord. Even if I have heartburn, I'm like, what could I say to my body? I'll just drink water and say something really kind just because she's like, just take Tums. I'm like, I know, but I don't want to become reliant on Tums. That's putting a Band-Aid on the issue. You know what I mean? And so with this thyroid thing, I think physically, all of my crash dieting, all of the stuff makes sense. Oh, and my body has just slowly been like, I don't want to say getting worse. I just feel like giving me specific symptoms to dive into the last like 5 years. The biggest one is weight gain. And I think it's very fitting that that's the number one symptom, even though I eat like a regular person. And I would say on the healthier side, um, I just think weight gain is an interesting thing to show up because of the way that I treated my body and how that would be the one thing I would panic at. Right. So that one weight gain thing is the thing I've had to learn to like love my body, accept my body. It's been a really interesting journey. And I don't like, I wouldn't have it any other way. But right now, weight gain, sure, is like the thing I'd like to like let go of, but I just trust my body will do that when it needs to. It's the other underlying health issues that I'm like, wait a minute. All right, weight gain, sure, that used to make me panic, but now I've been forced to like learn to love myself. That's great. Now that I do, actually, I'm a little bit more concerned about my digestion, this, that, you know what I'm saying? These other things came up. So with my thyroid, physically, I feel like just the way I treated my body for a decade explains a lot of what physically is going on. I would love to figure out if there is like an emotional thing that I can heal to just help. It doesn't surprise me that it's a receiving situation. Like my brain has a hard time receiving the signal that these things are being produced. So it's overproducing something else. So I would love to know, like, how do I help my brain receive physically and emotionally that there is enough, that there is plenty?
Okay. And if I were to ask you, how do you feel about that? What comes up? Like what?
Instant cry, because I feel like I've worked on receiving so much in the last few years that my thought is I haven't done enough. It's funny because even receiving that, like, hey, you're doing enough, like the thyroids are doing enough. I feel like I haven't done enough because my brain is still not receiving that signal.
Okay. And as you're saying that, I haven't done enough. Do you feel anything come up in your body? Any sensations?
Tears, immediate tears.
Immediately. Where do you feel the tears?
In my chest and in my throat.
Okay. Would you be up to exploring that a little bit deeper? Would you like to try a little exercise?
Absolutely.
In this next part of the session, we explored the issue at a deeper level and worked with their inner child to get a different perspective of what's been going on beneath the surface in order to help them tap into their own answers and solutions to the issue they've been navigating. I normally do not share the entirety of what this process looks like. I share the bits and pieces that feel correct to do so. In the following clip, we get to witness when they're able to go from not fully understanding the answer they were given to having a pretty big aha moment. Let's listen.
And as you tell her all of this, is she able to receive that
Yes.
fully, or is there a little bit of resistance?
No, it's actually no, fully, because it's a weird moment of like I said something to her and then it like hit both of us at the same time that like she always believed that she was like cute and adorable and funny. It just was like other people didn't see it.
Mhm.
Me saying she's cute and adorable, she's just like, I know, right?
Perfect. Perfect. And how does that feel to both of you?
Good.
Yeah. So given that she's perfect, there's nothing wrong with her. This was all the other people around her, that was their stuff. Is there anything else that she needs to do?
I don't think so. I don't know. No.
Mhm. So if you were to ask her about this receiving, that you've been noticing that maybe there's a little bit of issues in receiving, or receiving could be a little bit smoother. What is her take on it? What does she need in order to be able to receive at a deeper level?
I don't know if I understand this. I asked her that and she said, I just want to be. I think she just needs permission to just be.
Yeah. And do you think there's a difference between being and doing?
100%.
And do you feel like you've been doing a lot recently?
100%.
Yeah. So, given the information that she gave you, can you see a connection?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
Okay, so that was a little bit of what happened during the inner work part of the session. And now we're going to continue with the rest of the conversation after we wrapped that part of the session up.
Oh, that was insightful.
Yeah. Were you able to see a pattern?
Say that one more time.
Were you able to see a pattern more clearly
Yeah.
in relation
It's
to the?
I needed back then was just like the permission to just be, whether that was still, quiet, loud, funny, like whatever. And I think just right now I've been doing a lot to fix my health and doing this and doing this and doing this. And I think just being able to like be, just like trust the process and not worry about like instant results. I basically spent 15 years not listening and tuning into my body. And I think now that I listen and tune in, I feel so guilty that I just like want it to be fixed immediately.
There's the
That's a,
emotion. Let yourself
it's
feel it.
it's taken a few months, you know what I mean? So I just feel bad that like it's taking a few months and I don't
Yeah.
have all the don't know exactly. I just like every day wake up and figure it out again. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Okay, but
I think
there's the emotion. Let's pause right there and just let yourself feel the emotion. There's the sadness. It's
yeah, I
okay
just
to cry. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to explain. Just let yourself feel it. All of it. Let the tears flow out, or the sadness, however that wants to be expressed, is perfect. It's clicking. It's finally clicking. How does that feel?
good.
Yeah. Just sit with
Yeah.
that for as long as you need. Sit with that. And if the sadness comes up, let yourself cry. It's okay. It's been years of doing, trying to figure it out, And many times it's so simple as looking for the problem becomes the problem. What if there is no problem? She showed you that. There's nothing wrong with her. A different way of looking at receiving is allowing. You've done enough. You worked through a lot of heavy stuff, the diet culture, the church stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You've done a lot of, what if you've done enough? Now it's just a matter of enjoying the fruits of your labor and allowing your body to do its thing, like you said. But there was a little bit of resistance before. And if we take a look at kind of like what you got from your test results, the body, many times what it does is it mirrors things back to us. So your thyroid is fine, right? It's testing within normal range. Where's the issue?
Interesting.
And the receptors in the brain, right? Which could be kind of like if we look at it from a metaphorical sense, that's the receiving or the perception.
Mm-hmm.
Your perception of what's really going on could be shifted into something that's more empowering. Your perception, there's a problem, I have to fix it because it hasn't worked yet. But what if we were to remove that? Because you've been in the energy of like something's wrong, I need to fix it. Or let's say I need to fix it, I need to do something about it. From years of conditioning, I need to do. And now if you were to shift over into the vibration of like everything, like not interfering with the process. Because many times we interfere, we're focusing on the problem. So the problem grows. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's funny that because a couple months ago, I was teaching a self-love class and I even said, one of the fears I have around my body, like finding homeostasis and dropping weight, is that I've always been defined by how I look and how it's different and how it's bigger. And it occurred to me, like, I don't know who I am if I'm not defined by how people perceive the look of it. You know what I mean? Like if I'm just a regular human that doesn't think about it and doesn't talk about it and doesn't, who am I?
Yeah, but whose voice would you say that is?
Whose voice would I say that is? I don't even know.
Sit with it. You already have the answer. You've already said it. So just sit with that. Whose voice is that? Your inner child gave you the answer.
I guess everybody else around me. It's not mine.
Because you had that memory of like the parents, they're talking about your body, they're talking about you. They're not saying things directly to you. You're there.
Right.
So what if that has been other people's voice all along? It's not really yours.
Right. That is very true. I think that is like something that is just hard to imagine, is not, I don't know. I think that really was the hardest part, is like, I'm literally in the room. And then they would speak in French and I would just be, my outfit's not too tight. And they'd be like, because I don't speak fluent French. And they're like, you understood that? And I'm like, no, it's just something you would say with me in the room. Like, I just know you. I don't have to know the language you're speaking. I just know you. So I think that's a good point of just like, it's not my business. It wasn't back then. It wasn't fair that they did that to me back then. But even now, like, nobody's voice is saying anything now, but it's like still stuck in there, I guess.
So sometimes what happens is that we hear those voices so much that they become a part of us, and the mind, what it does is it kind of tricks us into believing that those are all things that we said to ourselves because we integrated them in a way. So it's just about starting to create awareness. Like, is that my voice? You can ask yourself, is that my voice? Or where have I heard that before? And see what you get. And many times you're probably going to find that it was either something you heard or maybe something you perceived. And then you were young and you can ask yourself, like in that situation, what beliefs do you think 10-year-old Sasha would have formed about herself?
Right. It just now occurred to me that like even if my body like loses weight or gains weight, doesn't matter. I can still talk about what it feels like to love yourself, no matter what you look like. A profound thought in my mind right now that is like so silly, but I think it's just like it's so interesting. I literally, the thought that's coming to my mind is like, well, if I get down to like honestly the size that I used to be, a part of me is like, I won't be qualified to talk about self-love. And that I don't know where that's coming from.
The question is that true?
No, that's not true.
So whenever you have a thought, if you can't identify the voice of like if that's your voice or not, question it, is it true? Is that really true? Does it have to be true? I'm a powerful woman, powerful creator, and I could choose something better instead. What would I choose?
I would choose what I actually, the words that I say now is like your body is going to ebb and flow. It's about loving the person that you look in the mirror at right now. And I think that is the most important, is because it's true. Like my body is different now than it was, 10 years ago or 5 years ago. And I think a part of me is now that I'm at this size, I'm like, yes, but if I get back down to that size I was 5 or 10 years ago, then I can't talk about what I talk about now. And that is not true at all. Good. I think I get really good at being a human doing instead of a human being.
What do you think you could start being now? I was gonna say doing, but no.
Yeah. I think it's just about like just being and living each day and not worrying about, and in a lot of ways I've come a really long way. And I think in my mind it's just like that can be enough. And I'm just now saying that to myself, like coming a long way is enough. I don't have to necessarily do anything else. I don't have to become something else, or I don't know. I just get to be.
Were you able to see a little bit more connection into like why or like the receiving part, like where you felt there was a little bit of issue with receiving? Is that a little bit
100%.
more clear?
If I stay ill, it gives me a reason to listen to my body, because I didn't know how to listen to my body when I was healthy. And so I think subconsciously it just entered my awareness. But if I'm ill, then I can keep listening to my body. But that's just my conditioning of how I was raised. It doesn't have to be my reality of how I live. Of like I can just be in my body. I don't have to wait till it's ill to like tune into it.
Your body's going to talk to you whether it's healthy or whether it's not. It's always going to talk to you if you want it to. If you choose to connect with your body, that communication will always be there no matter what.
Yeah.
It tends to be a little bit louder. We tend to look for it a little bit more when we're not feeling well,
Yeah.
but we could also do the same when we're feeling well. It's about building that connection and it's there all the time. We don't have to monitor it. We don't have to be super intense about it. Just allow it to be there and
Yeah.
communicate it like a friend. How does that feel?
Good. Good. I talk about my body in the third person a lot. And then just realizing like I think I've fallen in love with my body in a way that's like from the stance of it's broken. But I think it's just because like I was always taught that something was wrong with it. Even though that's exactly what that 10-year-old just needed. Like, God, can I just be? Can I just exist? Can I just like swing on the swings without somebody commenting on something? And I think realizing that trained my brain to think my body is broken. So for me to find self-love in a broken state is good. But I think the underlying, not just like losing weight, but if I'm whole, can I love something that's whole? I don't know. I think that I just like, oh, tapped into a lot of layers of things.
Yeah. And you said something interesting just now that I'd like to reflect back to you. You said that she just wanted to be without someone commenting on her body. And do you feel like you've been commenting on her body a lot?
100%.
Yeah. You see how you can start shifting into a different pattern of just being.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna take a little while to integrate because you went deep and you went really fast. Like we haven't even been on for like maybe like 30 minutes.
I think it's interesting. I really, the layers of like, I can do what I want. And then also like, oh, but if it's broken, it's easier to love than if it's whole. And then also the fact that like, you're not wrong. Like I do comment on it. And I think it's a, um, it's been a mechanism that I've used to love myself, to like see it, comment on it and love it. Right. As opposed to see it, hear it being commented on and learn to hate it. That was my pattern before. So I'm grateful that I shifted that pattern. But now that I've done that, I'm proud of myself. Thank you. Like you've now learned to comment and say things that you love and look at it in the mirror. Like when you said, do you still comment on it? Yeah, I do, but in a loving way and in a way that's like, I'm trying to help. I want to do the best. Like, and now I think it's okay to just like let that go.
And there's nothing wrong with commenting about it. It's just sometimes, like you mentioned, you went from one extreme to the other.
And I need to find the middle ground now of just like be in it. Of course, you're going to comment. You want to love it. You want to do all those things, but like, let's not be defined by it still.
Yeah.
Or the other.
Yeah. How's that feel?
Good.
Do you feel like you have more to work with? Like you're starting to understand like the emotional root of where it's coming from?
Yes. Yes, I am. Our bodies are amazing. They really are. Just the things that they think and store and feel and do. And
Mhm.
it's crazy.
You feel
That
good?
was amazing. I do. I think what's funny is like I said, I'm the person whenever something physically is happening, I'm like, okay, what's the emotional root cause? I say that to myself. But I think what's funny is like I came into this totally thinking we'd go over physical stuff, not realizing that we would get to like emotional things.
Mm.
It's just funny to me. It's funny how the brain works. This was so insightful.
Was it helpful?
Yes, yes, it was. I think again, I've come a long way, and I think there's a part of me that is like scared to just like be and receive, just because I think I also define myself by hardship and journey into something, as opposed to allowing myself to realize that sometimes we do get to a destination in certain ways. You know what I mean? Like when you travel, you get somewhere and you think it's beautiful and you love it. You know what I mean? Like and I think for me, I shouldn't say I'm always, I tend to, once I realize the journey, I tend to like hold on to that.
Yeah. I remember a while ago in your stories, you said something along the lines like how you felt that no matter what you did, it wasn't working. And in a way that becomes a belief.
Hmm.
So it's just about noticing and now like everything's working out for me. Looking for
Yeah.
the problem becomes a problem. Looking for the problem becomes a problem. And just
Yeah.
creating that awareness and oh, I'm looking for the problem again. Okay, let me just be.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's interesting too because it totally like relates to diet culture. Like there's always something wrong. That's why you can get swayed into getting and trying everything. And I think as much as I step out of specifically diets, if you will, and like all these, quick fix pills that like would people would yeah, I'd buy or be sold on, I think now it's kind of almost more in a different way that there's still a problem. So it's just a realization of like it's just a different side of a coin, honestly. And so that's good for me to be it for that to enter into my awareness because then like you said, I can just take a second and be like, oh, am I looking for a problem? You know what I mean?
Mm.
Because even when I got this thyroid test, I kept saying to my friends, God, I hope something's wrong. And they were like, why? And I'm like, because then it would explain it and I could stop. And I think realizing hoping something's wrong is that's kind of interesting. That was an interesting realization as well. I think it's because I want to stop this journey of feeling like I'm looking for something wrong. Hmm.
What would that feel like if you just stopped?
Yeah, very freeing. Immediately, I just felt like just being able to be.
Yeah. Remember your inner child. What was she doing?
Literally, she was just like laughing and jumping. I don't even know if she was with somebody.
And you can refer to that. And, if you look, okay, what was this trying to show me? Just one thing, one new thing that I could get from that
Yeah.
and sit with it.
Yeah. I think ultimately she was just being, and I think that's why maybe I couldn't see what she was doing, is that it didn't matter.
Exactly.
It was just doing her thing.
Isn't that amazing? It's never been about the doing.
Yeah. Totally. Well, thank you. That was very amazing.
You're very welcome. Thank you for doing this session with me. I learned a lot as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sasha. I hope you have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're interested in receiving guidance to help you trace, identify, and heal the root of anything you've been wanting to know more about, I invite you to visit my website, www.geniesaucedo.com, or my Instagram page. My handle is @GenieSaucedo for more information on how to book your one-to-one root cause guidance session. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.